Hello and welcome. This is episode number 64, 63. We will figure it out later. But it is the Merry Christmas episode of the VCD Roundtable. As you can see behind Sasha and up there behind myself, we are very, very much in our final stages to send out our Christmas presents to all our customers and partners. And maybe you are one of the lucky ones who is going to get one as well. So this is going to be the last episode before the Christmas break. Christmas time for CSPs in the VMware world always means something special because Broadcom, at least 2 years, introduced a very new, let's say, special Christmas gift by releasing program changes and things like that short ahead of the Christmas break. They learned their lesson that people want to have that earlier. So this year, everybody got it a bit earlier with the announcements of the CSP program changes. We slowly see that certain scenarios come out of it, and we learn more on how Broadcom really wants to continue in the CSP world. But we also learn more and more about how this change is going to potentially even shift some service providers from CSP over to the resale side. That being said, Sasha, Merry Christmas. While Sasha is going to fight to find the correct microphone again on his computer, we are going to give him a second. Otherwise, he will get the Christmas hat.
Maybe now it works. Perfect. Yes. Welcome to our Christmas podcast of the VCD Roundtable. It's so many discussions currently about VCF and all that stuff around. Yes, happy to have you here. And today we want to talk a bit about, the changes, the latest changes again. It was really funny. So we found every time in discussions more and more changes from a pricing, from a licensing perspective, and what happened with the with all around vDefend and so on. So happy to talk about it.
Yeah, so I think the biggest question for everybody is, let's start with the big elephant in the room. What's going to happen to Europe? I think that's the only part where we don't have any clear news. There are people saying there are rumors that in the second week of January, emails are going to go out. There are rumors nothing is going to happen to the EMEA market or EEA, because you need to be very, very careful now with Broadcom, because depending on partner programs, documents, etc., sometimes it's EMEA region, sometimes it's EEA, sometimes it's EEA plus a few countries. So better be very, very careful with where you are headquartered, and what does this mean to you, because one of the things which I already learned is depending on where your headquarter is, your geo is going to be positioned. So whilst Broadcom clearly separates between North America and EMEA, so if you think you're clever, I'm going to quickly open up an office as a CSP in EMEA, shift my headquarter over there, then I'm not going to be affected by all the changes. First and foremost, we are still expecting that all the changes are going to come to Europe as well. Second, the territories are separate from each other. You would need to have an additional CSP contract for that. So, for example, we in ComDivision have a CSP contract for the EMEA region, and we have a CSP contract for the North America region. They are not interchangeable. The same for resell and everything else. So that being said, is we need to wait what's going to happen in the EEA region. However, I'm standing to what I said several times before. I'm expecting it to come one day or another. It's just a matter of time, whether it's going to be another Christmas surprise, whether it's going to be January, February, or whatsoever. Program ends March 27, and latest 3 months before that, Broadcom needs to terminate contracts. So they could even wait until December 26 if they want to. Nevertheless, Sasha, maybe you share some lights into our newest findings on what the changes in the program mean, and what can be done, what can't be done, what are the newest things we know.
Yes, so we got a new price list beginning of November, starting with November, and we took a look into that, and we figured out that Now, advanced cyber compliance is included, so we can talk about later what's included in advanced cyber compliance and what are the benefits of it. But the interesting point here was that advanced threat protection was no longer available on the price list, and also Site Recovery Manager was no longer available on the price list. So that was really interesting because this ACC, Advanced Cyber Compliance, there is a footnote which says clearly you need to license it in all your environments. So that means if you as a service provider, you can not only license one cluster and then have a live Site Recovery Manager and can use it for your customers, you also, so you need to license this stage of beginning of November for your complete environment, for your customers' environments, because all the environments must be licensed with ACC. And ACC is a list price of $200 per core. That means if you're taking a look at the US pricing, we have 400 for VCF, 200 for ACC. That means we had 600. Plus, if we want to use vDefend, we are at $800 per core. And many service providers complained about it. We had a lot of meetings about that and discussed it. And then, funny story, end of November, the price list changed again. So for EEA and the rest of the world. And now Site Recovery Manager is back. We still have ACC for all of the other features, but also one finding in the current price list is that on one side, advanced threat protection is now included in vDefend. So you don't need to license it separate, but the price raised to $200. Additional to that, for gateway firewall, so in the older or past days, with the old licenses of vDefend, you needed to have 4 vDefend cores per gateway firewall vCPU. And now you need only 3 licenses per gateway firewall vCPU. So, interesting part. Then we try to figure out what happens with all the current licenses on vDefend and gateway firewall. And we got the information from both distributors or ZCMs and also from Broadcom that this only applies to licenses with the new or with the updated licenses now in Europe beginning of January and US beginning of February. So that means if you change your commit or do a new commit, you can still do new commits now if you get it approved. Then you have the new licenses and then all the additional features like advanced threat protection and the 3 cores or 3 licenses per vCPU gateway firewall applies.
But that all requires that you get a quote. And that all requires that you can convert your existing contract, which also means you're going to switch from monthly to yearly prepayment and other things. So the big question at the moment for many of these scenarios is if you are not one of the lucky service providers which have the guarantee that they are going to stay in the program and actually be welcome in the program, then the big question is, can you change your contracts anyway? Do you get all the new features or all the new packaging? Or is this something which is already just applicable to any of the new providers? Those are things which are to be found out. And again, what you need to take into consideration, as Sasha says, sometimes the core count changes. Sometimes it's all of a sudden double the price, but therefore more features. The more interesting piece is when we look at the scenarios in the VCD space, and when we especially look at the scenarios on what happened with overage after billing and a lot of other things. For me personally, the big question is like, is Broadcom really capable to actually charge based on all these changes? Because it felt at least like that it is already difficult enough to do the CSP billing for them anyway, which is also from what we were told why they moved from monthly to yearly billing, because the monthly billing is far too complex. And now if we have different contracts with different modules included, with different multipliers on core counts versus versus edge nodes and stuff like that, this is really going to be interesting. What's your take? Do you think they got this handled, or is this difficult?
Yeah, that is an interesting question. So when we work with the information that usage meter is only used now to get an overview, and if you need to, if you to figure out if you need to upgrade your commits, I would say they take a look at the output of usage meter and say, hey, you need to raise your commit, but other than that, with automatically stuff and so on, it will be hard to figure out what are new licenses, what are old licenses. Also, how does it look in the license portal? Where can I handle my old licenses and where can I handle my new licenses? Especially if I do a commit, expand my course in an existing commit on vDefend firewall, for example. How can I see it? And that's not only on the Broadcom side, that's also on the CSP side. How can I handle all of that stuff? How do I say to the environment, hey, that's a new license and that's an old license? So, and additional to that, if I'm working with VCF and going to VCF 9 now, I need to take a look if there is an option to differentiate between the different clusters or the different services I use. And also, where can I configure what's a gateway firewall with old and new licenses? Yeah, it will become interesting.
Yeah, so that's always the problem when it at least feels like that people come up with a licensing model who don't have to care about the billing process in the end. It's a lot easier in the enterprise space where you have the situation that people would just actually buy a specific license and then use it or something else. CSP is different. However, what we can see with all the changes in the program, Broadcom is clearly trying to make the CSP program as near to the enterprise program as possible. So that is, I think, from that perspective, going to be much more aligned moving forward. Any other big changes on the licensing side before we talk a bit about whether someone is a CSP or not?
No, I think that's the points we have figured out from a licensing perspective.
Good. So the next part is, and this is where coming back to the early days, somewhere last year, where Broadcom asked people, "Is like, do you want to be a reseller or a CSP?" Where people had to take decisions, and yes, totally understood. For many, it's actually, if they would have known back then that the program would change again, they would have potentially taken different decisions. But here is the point, is from the discussions we have had with Broadcom the last couple of weeks, it becomes more and more clear that depending on who you talk to, you get different answers on whether something is resell or CSP. So one of the things we are currently working on is actually building a metrics with, I think it's 10,000s of combinations. From operating models, who does manage what, who gets access to what, where is it operated, who owns the hardware and everything else, to basically give that metrics back to Broadcom and actually ask is like, okay, this is our understanding of the licensing. Can you please either confirm or deny that? Because based on that, currently our idea is we are going to build a questionnaire tool for our CSPs and resale customers, which they can go through to really get clarification. Are they in the correct licensing model or not? Because what we have seen from the discussions with Broadcom and also with CSPs is a good amount of CSPs it is very questionable if they really need to be CSPs or if they are not actually fine with a standard resell or a resell license with a small addendum to the license contract, which allows them certain things from that perspective. So I would say if you are a CSP currently who does not actually give direct access to vSphere in any form or fashion, or Cloud Director console access to the VMs, but just actually provides any kind of application or stuff like that, you're in a much more safe way that potentially you can get a resell. I think the only part we currently know very much for sure is if you're 100% offering an IaaS service. So you're allowing customers to create their own virtual machines. You allow them to install the operating systems by themselves, and you allow them to completely manage them, including resource management, etc. That seems to be something which is very, very clear on the CSP side. Everything else where potentially customers only have RDP access, that's questionable. If they have API access, if it's a custom developed application versus an industry standard application, that is where we are currently in a gray area, and there might not even be a generic answer for everybody. But what we can only suggest is every service provider who seems to be affected by that or who wants to actually get into that discussion, please reach out to us. Actually, send us your story on what you see, what your business model looks like, and then we can actually, from there, try to work that into our metrics. And as soon as we have answers from Broadcom, actually get answers back to you. In the end, as we heard in the last couple of weeks, this might be a case-by-case decision even for Broadcom. So this might not end up in something where there is really a generic yes-no list. So it's not a binary decision like many other scenarios with Broadcom. But there is an option to actually get that solved. On the other side, the first of the, let's say, remaining CSPs also have started to bring up programs, and they can make them work. If you're looking into opening that discussion with someone, it's like, if you are with us, we are going to figure out how we handle that and how we hand you over to one of these. But if we don't make it ourselves, but that's even still up in the air. But on the other side, if you are on the resell side, or if you have customers who are operating complete full stack in your data center, so if that is actually something where you say is like, hey, I have customer A, they have 6 hosts, they run in my data center, and we potentially only manage them or something like that, then please reach out to us, because that might be something we can easily get approved via resell. We can provide you with quotes and everything else. Just ping us and we can look into your specific case. Also, if it's on-prem at the customer, we can help you with these kinds of things, because we have procedures on how to make this work. We need to talk through the details. But there is an opportunity to solve these scenarios, even if you are no longer in the resale space. We can potentially help you with that. Anything to add on that one, Sasha?
I think you covered all of that. The important part is, and that's what we're currently discussing with a lot of service providers globally, is on the one part, if you are in the US, if you have your cancellation of all of that, we need to figure out which is the right way for you, how does your business currently look like? Because there are so many different service providers kinds on how to handle the business. One of them are more or less system integrator and handle dedicated environments for customers. Other ones have shared environments running only services on top of it. So Active Directory services, but it's only for logging in. Nothing works with this servers by themselves or logging in, or no customer have access to the servers that are running there. So many different combinations, and we were sitting down the last 2 weeks and brainstormed a lot with different service providers, with different enterprises, who were used to CSP licenses in the past, and also with our team and partners. And we are now on a part where we say, hey, we have more than 45,000 combinations that must be covered in the different scenarios. So who is owning the data center? Who is managing the devices? Who has administrative access to the infrastructure, to the servers? And what are my customers really want? And who is owning the hardware? That's also a big question currently. And with all of that combinations, on top, we have the different teams on the Broadcom side from the service provider and the resale side. And from a feeling, it looks like more or less CSP side wants to go down with the number of CSPs. We see it clearly in the US, and from my personal perspective, we also will see it in the next weeks or months in Europe, in EEA. But I think overall, and when we talk with the resale team, nobody will really lose customers or want to lose customers to different platforms. And so from that perspective, we will work really hard to figure out what is the best way for you and what is the future way for you to go with Broadcom licenses. Because that's what we got out of 99% of the meetings where the customers clearly said, I don't want to change my infrastructure. I want to go with VMware. I need VMware. I can't run my business without VMware. But they really love it. And the point is, we have some customers, CSP is the only business. Then we can discuss about M&A, but that's their business, that's their life. They created that company, grows it, and so on. And it's not easy to sell the complete business. On the other side, we have system integrators where CSP business or handling or supporting customers, running virtual machines for customers in their environments. That's only, let's say, 10, 20, 30%. But it's an important business. And they also clearly say, hey, we need this infrastructure and we only can run it with VMware because, for example, we have problems to do the migration on another platform. We have problems with backup. We had a discussion with a few developer companies who clearly said, we tested all of the other hypervisors and we have so many problems with snapshots. Try to create 3, 4, 5 snapshots and then delete one in the middle. On most of the hypervisors, it's not possible. And all of that, all the teams are educated, they're feeling really, really well, and they love all the story of VCF9 and want to go that way. And I think we should, everyone on a Broadcom side, on a partner side, on a customer side, work really hard to find solutions for every dedicated customer to see how can we handle it that they can stay as VMware, as a partner or a customer. Most of them doesn't care. They are not, so when we say, hey, maybe your scenario is an end user or end customer scenario, they are really happy to go with resale. They don't need to be a partner. They don't need to have this icon on their website, hey, I'm a VMware partner. They want to use the product, and that's the point.
Well said. Well said. I think that's more or less the situation everybody is in. We would have loved to have more details by now, but I think there is enough perspective. As Sasha said, as I said, is if you're depending on your business, feel free to drop us an email, to drop us a direct message over social media, and or set up a meeting, and then we can go through your scenario and identify whether this is an option which really needs to stay in CSP and resell. We are happy to actually take your specific case then forward. What we can't fix is if you are purely an IaaS provider and you're no longer in the program, then the only way is potentially the M&A way with one of the partners. We have reviewed the programs from 1 or 2 of the larger CSPs who are actively doing M&A. we are happy to give advice in that scenario, but it really needs to be a solid business model. It needs to be a sustainable business model, and it shouldn't be. You should be clear whether you're selling off your complete business or are willing to go into a competition here from that perspective. So that being said, I think that covers it all. I think we will get another VCD release before the Christmas break. I haven't seen an email yet, but it should actually be out in the next couple of days. But that's still not bringing us VCF 9, isn't it, Sasha?
Nobody knows, and I talked to, or I found nobody who has this release available who can handle with VCF9. So from my perspective, there are currently only rumors. Maybe if you have this release, ping us and let us know if it worked and how does it work and what's your way to get it, because every time we tried to get it, we got the information, hey, that's only for migration and with no support and so on. So nobody was able to really say, hey, I want to have it, I want to use it. Because of that, yeah. If you use it, if you have it, let us know and let's share it. And we can also invite you here in our VCD Roundtable to talk about it. So if you are interested to come with us in the roundtable, ping us and let us know.
Wonderful closing word. I think that's more or less it. I would say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a great start into 2026. I'm hoping we don't need to do a breaking news episode just before Christmas or before the new year, but I don't think so this year. So happy holidays, relaxed holidays, and we talk to you again in the new year. Bye.
Bye.